did this. Then he went and he became an American citizen by serving in the U.S. Army. In Italy. He was from Italy. Why not? He spoke Italian, right? Okay. Well, he had some friends and a dog and a barrel. They decided that they would push this barrel around the whole border of the United States.
That was somebody else. They didn't push the barrel. That was somebody they met on the trip.
On the trip that pushed the barrel. Okay, but
They backpacked.
they backpacked it around the whole yes,
U.S.
U.S.
the whole U.S. And every city that they went to, they got a letter that they had picked up. And Cook found, remember the glass plates that we had?
Yeah, I have them.
Cook still has them.
Mike has
Mike has them.
Mac, you have them. Mike, you had the glass plates.
They're back,
They're back to
back
me.
with you, yeah.
They're back to you. Okay.
He put them all on.
I actually did that as a class project in school, in elementary school. I think I was probably in 6th or 7th grade. And I took all these slides and did the whole story.
It took them 3 years,
Yeah,
14,000. It took them 3 years, 14,000 miles.
14,000 miles.
They started in New York, went to Maine, across the Canadian border, down the West Coast, the Gulf Coast, to Tampa, and back up the East Coast again. When they did it, they belonged
took
to
3 years.
a social club in the village. And the club offered a prize to anybody who did it of $5,000. By the time they got back, the club had disbanded.
All they had was the memories.
4 of them left. 2 of them, for whatever reasons, dropped out along the way, and 2 of them finished.
And they always stayed in the finest hotels.
They backpacked and they hunted for their food.
Yes.
He kept a diary. And
Kept
in
the
the
diary,
diary,
right?
in the diary, it said that he went through 56 pairs of shoes in 3.5 years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they had a dog with them, who Prince, who did tricks, and they would they would get paid on the street or in the circus, traveling circuses or whatever. The dog would fund their trip to a certain extent.
And didn't they make friends with people?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
My father lived until 1966. And up until that was some 40 years later.
Right.
He still got Christmas cards at Christmas time from people he met on the trip.
Now, Cook's dad was born in 1889 in Italy. Came here in 1906. His 3 brothers, younger, all followed later. But he was the first one. And he first worked on the docks in Europe, which is not an easy life. But that was the life for an Italian coming to the United States. That's the easiest job you could get, was working on the docks. But he progressed way past that. Way past that.
Do you have his journal that he kept?
It was written. Remember, these were young fellows who had come from Italy 20 years before. Didn't speak very good English. Right. They kept their notes in little spiral notebooks.
I have the journals.
Cheryl
And
has.
I've tried to decipher it. The problem is it's a cross between broken English
Right.
and pencil that was put into the back of their pocket as they were walking. So some pages are just so obscured that I can't read them.
But you know what? Your Aunt Doris.
She started it, yes.
Yeah.
And she had,
Who has those?
I have those,
You have those.
yeah.
Those, Doris originally told me, she said, Jimmy, you are good at compiling. Why don't you make this into a book for us? Take all the years of all those books. But I never got them. She never gave them to me. So I never did that.
Oh.
And I think it would be wonderful to do that with them.
But you don't have a complete set.
We don't have the complete set.
Oh, Hollywood writers can
Oh.
figure out the middle. That's simple. That's what they do.
You know, there was one part in the journal actually that I found really, really interesting. The part that I could read was that at one
Dad's
point they were-
journals or Doris's?
No, Dad's.
Dad's.
There was one part where they were walking down the railroad track and they got to a tunnel at the very same time that a train was coming. And they were caught inside the tunnel. And he's just describing that they're all standing against the wall of the tunnel as the train is going.
Oh my, yeah.
What I find interesting about this story is that I haven't really ever seen or on any documentary or story or movie about a period of time that's kind of during the war, the Great War in America, by Italians fighting. So it's kind of a unique situation of Italians who didn't really speak any English, going around the country that didn't really know, had never seen an Italian in their lives. And in a period of time, in 1916 to 1918.
1914 to 17.
17, yeah. And so I think it would make it really interesting opportunity to see a slice of America in history that we've never really seen before.
Something else that a lot of people don't realize, I worked at the Mount Washington Hotel in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire for 7 summers in the 60s. And the history behind the Mount Washington is awesome. The whole hotel was built by Italians. The whole cog railway going up Mount Washington was built by Italian immigrants brought over and housed there. And those houses, when I was there in the 60s, were still scattered around. This little one room with a kitchen in the corner, a stove, a sink, and a bathroom in one room. And that's what they lived in back, and the cog railway was built in 1906. My dad came here, 1906. So
They were brought in to build this?
they were brought from Italy to help build the cog railway. Because they were there when the cog railway was finished, what was he? He was from the United States and she was from Switzerland. And they fell in love, and he built her something that would look like the Swiss Alps. So he built it at the base of Mount Washington, which of course is 6,000 some odd feet. It still holds the record for the highest wind velocity on a mountain of 290 some odd miles an hour on the top of the mountain. It actually blew one of the first motels off the mountain. They finally had to chain it down into the boulders. It also had a cog railway accident, the only one in the history of the cog railway, and quite a number of people passed away, including people I knew from the hotel that passed away. And it was human error that they forgot to switch for the train to switch tracks. It went up and turned, and it came back down, and the other train would be passing it, and they had to switch over. And when it went to the side for the other train to pass, the switchman forgot to switch it back, so they just went straight off. They came within 20 feet of going down into a 300 and some odd foot chasm. But it was on its side, that's why so many people were lost in it, because it did flip. But it was the Italians that built all of that, including that home. It was really a home when it first was built. It became a hotel. And then when the parents passed away, the daughter expanded the hotel, and that's what became the Mount Washington Hotel. And in 1943, the hotel was closed during the Second World War, and they opened it by the request of President Roosevelt to hold the monetary conference in 1943 there. Right. And I later bought one of the Cadillac limousines that they had used in 1943. It was a 39 Cadillac. They had 6 of them that they had purchased to be used for the dignitaries that were going to get conference. Well,
Let me interrupt you for a minute, because we've got a lot of friends here. I think there's something that I feel like I want to talk about tonight. Jim is here. My brother Jim has come all the way from Arizona to be here. And he's talked a lot about the Italians. and his name is James Cole. So that deserves some explanation. My mom and dad were born, it was a second marriage for them. I had an older, we had an older brother and sister who were 18 and 17 and 13 years older than I am.
Then you, they were 20.
And then my
2
mom
and
and dad
25
got
older
together
than
in 1930, had me in 1935. And then in 1938, they took in a foster child, Joe.
Joe.
And Joe has since passed on. Joe was a state foster child. They took him in, and he was 3 years old at the time. By 5 or 6, they realized that he was could not go to school. He was
Mentally challenged.
He was mentally challenged.
What we call it today.
So the state of New Jersey got him a scholarship to the training school in Vineland, which was a private training program for challenged kids. And he grew up in that training school, but spent all his vacations and holidays
At our
with
house.
us. So he was my first brother. And then when I was 8
Yeah.
8 or 9,
You got Eddie.
we got Eddie. Eddie was another foster child who was 6 years old, 3 years older.
3, yeah,
I
because
was
he was
7,
born
he
in
was
39.
3.
Yeah,
And
he was 4 years
Eddie
older.
couldn't make it tonight, but you know we're still brothers, and he's in Florida. And then a few years later comes along Jim, and well, we're brothers just like everybody else.
Right.
So Jim Cole,
And it
James
really isn't
Garrett
Cole.
Cole. James,
Right.
hold on.
Okay, okay.
James Garrett Cole, about a year ago, changed your name.
Yeah, well, it started in August after Bill and I got married.
Right.
August the 25th. It's the hardest thing in the world to change your name. I feel sorry for women who get married. Oh my God, it's taken me 7 months, I'm still not done. And they give you such a hard time over it.
So what's your name now?
James Garrett Richerds.
Yeah.
I wanted to do the DeLuca hyphen Richards, and they wouldn't let me do that. That stupid judge in Lake Havasu is an idiot.
Anyway, that's it. So my brother is here, and
So I'm gonna,
something